This recording will cover Chapter 4 from your textbook, Learning Theories, Understanding What Works. Okay, so you should be able to understand why theories are used in education, some different theories that are kind of the main ones that are used in education, and how you can use theories to help you better understand how your students learn. And thinking about, how are you going to make learning meaningful and successful for them? Okay, so what is a theory? Well, a theory is a framework that is used to describe an event or set of events. It makes generalizations about observations and consists of an interrelated, coherent set of ideas and models. So it's all connected, right? It all kind of, in a theory, everything kind of goes together, the ideas, the models, it's all interconnected. Okay, so why do we need to learn about theories? Well, think about your own teaching knowledge. Think about how in this program and whatever you did before you came to this program, think about your own knowledge, think about how you were taught, and think about how you like to learn or how you feel that you learn best. Some people like to listen to music when they study, right? Some people need it to be absolutely quiet. Some people like to have very well lit, bright rooms, something like that. Other people are like, I'm okay if it's kind of dim, like I personally in my office, I don't have the overhead fluorescent lights on. I have three different lamps, floor lamps. Thinking about, again, how you learn. How did you learn in high school, in college, in grad school, on the job? And how are you going to use how you like to learn and how you did learn to turn into theories of how your students may learn? So there's a number of different theories that are really influential to special education practices. Okay, so the first one is behavioral theory. I almost said therapy. Behavioral theory. So this is the theory that looks at the effects of different external stimuli. So not what's coming from within, not just, oh, I want to be a good student because that makes me feel good. No, we're looking at the external stimuli to inform why individuals behave as they do. Okay, so according to behaviorists, all behavior is learned and has been learned through the use of reinforcement, punishment, or extinction. And we'll talk about this. Behavioral theories also, and I don't know that that's on the slide, any of the slides, to be honest. Behavioral theory also really looks at antecedent behavior consequences. So antecedent, I'm actually I am going to type as I'm talking. So antecedent, whoa, I probably spelled it wrong. Antecedent. That is what comes before the behavior, okay? Whatever the behavior that you're looking at is, what happened directly or immediately before that behavior. Okay, then the behavior. What happened? We'll just kind of simplify it to say that, right? What was the behavior, whether it was positive or negative, right? I'm going to put a little question mark here. What happened? And it could be positive or negative. So maybe you asked a student to take out their reading book, and that was the antecedent. The behavior was they took out the reading book, right? So then chances are the consequence might be, oh boy, just consequence might be what comes immediately. Oh my gosh, can't spell, y'all. This is why I shouldn't do this as I'm talking to y'all. Immediately after the behavior. And again, could be positive or not so positive, right? Positive, we're just going to call it not so positive. So the first time the student takes out, I just spelled that wrong, didn't I? The first time, so you ask the student to take out their book, their reading book. They take it out. That's the behavior. The consequence is that you say, great job, Georgia. I like how you took out your reading book. Here's a sticker, right? Positive consequence. So what do you think or what do you hope might happen the next time you ask the student, hey, Georgia, I think that was her name, right? My dog. Hey, Georgia, take out your reading book. Georgia remembers, ooh, I got a sticker and some praise last time because it's external, right? I got an external reward. Ooh, I like that. So I'm going to take out my book again. So what might be the consequence again? Oh, great job, Georgia. I like how you took out your reading book. Here's a sticker. Here's a M&M. Here's a whatever, right? So that's where the antecedent behavior consequence, or ABC kind of model, as some people refer to it, comes into place. So what if you ask Georgia, hey, Georgia, take out your math book? Oh, Georgia does not like math. Georgia does not want to be a part of math. She struggles with math. So what is Georgia going to do? Well, maybe she doesn't take out her book. Maybe she hits her friend. All right, Georgia, the consequence is, oh, sorry, you're going to get kicked out of the classroom. But then what happens next time? The teacher asked Georgia to take out her math book. Georgia said, hey, I got to escape math class because I got kicked out of the classroom. Guess what I'm going to do again? I'm going to hit my friend and I'm going to get kicked out. So that to Georgia might be a positive consequence, right? If she does not like math, guess what? She might not want to be there for math. In her mind, she might think, woohoo, I get out of doing this thing that I don't want to do. So it's just going to repeat and repeat and repeat, right? So we're going to talk about that in just a second. So that's a theory. So you can look at what happened before the behavior, immediately before the behavior. The behavior, what happened? How can you measure it? And the consequence, what comes immediately after the behavior? Again, positive or not so positive. Consequences do not always have to be not so positive. Sometimes there are positive consequences, right? So going back to behavioral theory, reinforcement, again, we kind of just mentioned a few of these. So reinforcement is, or reinforcer, a reinforcer is anything that increases the rate with which an operant or learned response occurs. If you praise a student for his or her good work, like taking out their math book, that is very likely to be reinforcing to the student, and in turn, the student will repeat the behavior, okay, just like we just talked about, to get you to praise her or him some more. All right, so be really careful. You know, we want to use reinforcement, of course we do, but look at it how it relates to your students' learning. All right, some types of reinforcers. There's a whole bunch of things. There's praise, there's stickers, there's tangible items, there's computer time, there's extra recess, stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of things that can fall under reinforcers. Punishment, I feel it's a little controversial, and some of you might think, oh, well, I use punishment all the time. And that's your choice. I tend to stay away from punishment. And when I was teaching, I would try to use everything else before using punishment. But again, that's kind of just me. So find out, punishment and timeout, both. Find out kind of how your school and how your district feels about that. Punishment is usually associated with something negative, right? So just again, ask other people, ask people at your school, what the kind of procedure about punishment is. Timeout is a procedure that attempts to decrease the probability or the occurrence of a behavior or a response temporarily by withholding of reinforcement for all behaviors. So we've all probably used timeout, right? You're in timeout for 2 minutes, you're in timeout for 3 minutes. Just again, be careful with it because it removes the student from everything that's going around. So they will miss out on some academics. And again, or not again, but you do not want to put a student in timeout for 27 minutes, right? So really be thoughtful with how you use timeout. Okay, that's just my 2 cents. Extinction is withholding reinforcement, and reinforcement, could be, I did not mention this, could be either positive or negative. All right, there's both. So positive reinforcer, and I'm kind of backing up a little bit sorry, I skipped ahead of myself. Positive reinforcer increases behavior when presented immediately following the response. Okay, so think back to our antecedent behavior consequence. The student took out the book when they were asked, so the student immediately was praised, given a sticker, whatever is motivating for that student. A negative reinforcer. Okay, this one is tricky because when people hear negative, they always think it's bad, right? Or negative, but it's not always. And I'm going to give you an example in just a second. So a negative reinforcer, this type of reinforcer increases behavior when removed. Okay, it increases the behavior. Reinforcement always increases the behavior. Negative reinforcers increase the behavior when removed. A negative reinforcer is not punishment. It is instead a removal of something that the student does not appreciate. Okay, so one example from the book might be removing a parent's nagging after the child has picked up the clothes in his or her room. Another example might be your seatbelt. Think about when you get into your car. You know, some of the if you have like a really old car, this might not happen. But if you get into your car and you or your passenger, don't put on the seatbelt, what happens? Your car yells at you, right? It beep, 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 beeps. So most people find that to be very annoying. So then what do? The next time you get into your car, the first time the behavior was to not put on your seatbelt, and the consequence was beep, 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 right? Trying to be an annoying beeper. So then the next time you get into your car, guess what? The antecedent is getting in the car, okay? The behavior might be, I'm going to put my seatbelt on because I don't want to hear that beeping anymore. I want relief from that beeping. Okay, so that is an example, another example of negative reinforcement that one of my professors shared with me, oh gosh, in like 2000, I probably shouldn't tell you all this, like 2010, and I still to this day use that example. So hopefully you're seeing negative reinforcement isn't bad, okay? It always still increases the behavior or the response that you want to see. And again, think about a child who doesn't clean up their room. The parent, the guardian says, Georgia, clean up your room. 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 Well, guess what? That's kind of annoying, right? So when Georgia cleans up her room, you stop nagging. That is negative reinforcement, as it will increase the likelihood that next time you ask Georgia to clean up her room, she doesn't want to have to deal with you. So guess what? She's going to clean up her room. Okay, so that was an example of negative reinforcement. Again, not always bad, okay, or not bad. It still will increase the behavior that you want. It's a little tricky. And then, some alternatives to punishment and timeout. Well, again, go back to thinking about some reinforcers. How else could we positively reinforce? Maybe we reinforce their neighbor's behavior when Lula, my friend's dog, I'm all about using dogs for my kids' name, students' names, or my nephews. So Lula, maybe I'm going to praise Lula because Lula did what I asked her to do. So then maybe George is going to say, huh, well, I kind of would like that reward as well. So I'm going to do what Lula did. And there are your textbook talks about some differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors, DRA, and differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors, DRI. Okay, I'm not going to get into those, but they are in your textbook. Okay, the next theory, or what theory did I miss? Hold on. Did I miss a theory? Behavioral theory, behavioral theory. Oh, yeah. So the next theory is cognitive behavior modification. So this here is called CBM. If you take any other classes with me, you will most likely, especially if you take one of our math classes or our methods classes, CBM also refers to curriculum-based measures or measurement, okay? So I never call it cognitive behavior modification, to be honest. I usually just kind of say behavior modification or behavior change. But so this CBM is different than if you take, again, or if you're taking any classes with Dr. Williams right now or Dr. Nixon, where they're talking about CBM. Most likely that one is probably curriculum-based measurement, okay? This one is cognitive behavior modification, so using cognitive skills thinking to help control one's behavior. Okay, so I'm looking at my time. So some cognitive theories, excuse me, working memory model. You've all probably heard of this, right? We have the short-term memory, we have executive memory, we have the long-term memory. We have all these things happening in our memory and our working memory. For students with HI disabilities, their working memory might struggle a little bit, right? They might have some issues with their short-term memory or their long-term memory or retaining information, okay? So it's something that you need to think about. You don't want to give them 45 minutes of instruction without any time to practice what you're talking about, or to move around, or to have a little break, or to do something else, because guess what? They're probably not going to remember it. Okay, so working memory again, and I will finish up with this, a memory store where various activities occur, such as organizing new information, retrieval of information from long-term memory, and encoding of new information with information from long-term memory. There's a lot happening in our memory, right? So I will end here, come back for part two, and we'll start with episodic buffers.